Hello everybody, welcome back to Easy Weeknight Cooking with Heart's Desire Spice Blends. And we are here at the Blending Kitchen to give you great Pico de Gallo. So one of our customers actually told me about this and I said, whoa, wait a minute, are you kidding? She said that, hey, I'm using your Mexican chili powder in my salsa. Seriously, I hadn't thought of that before. So what did I do this week? I delved into making not just good, but great Pico de Gallo with our Mexican chili powder. And so what you're looking at, our Mexican chili powder. This stuff is made of four different kinds of chilies. You get cumin, you get garlic, you get marjoram, and you get chilies. That's it. And it smells and tastes like enchiladas. And you know what? I can't get enough of this stuff. I really can't. This is the salsa we are making tonight. Isn't that gorgeous? Ooh, yum! So, anyway, so what are we going to need? I better put the recipe in the comments. Come on. Just a little bit. Just a bit? A lot? Yeah, I better. So, let me go ahead and find the video. That always helps a little bit, right? Just a wee bit. So, let me see here. I did have it here. Okay, there we go. I found the page. Hey, gotta start somewhere, right? So, let me see here. I did have it. Come here. Thank you. And we have comments. Sweet. Let's see how that worked. Do we have it in the comments? Let me see here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see all your comments this time. Aha! There we go. Hello, Maureen. How are you tonight? I've been missing the comments the last couple of times, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to see them all that well. I've got a brand new light, but it's blinding me. So let's see what we can do. And hugs to you too, Maureen. Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the farmer's market this week. And why don't we get into our stuff? So what do we need? We need tomatoes, of course. You know, that's a no-brainer. So we're going to want 3 medium tomatoes. I prefer getting them from the vine or on the vine. Why is that? The flavor. As you already know, we are the flavor-loving foodies around here, and you know that's why I'm fluffy. So anyway, flavor. Get yourselves some really ripe tomatoes, and preferably homegrown. If you don't grow them, find somebody who does. Go to the farmer's market, I don't care. Find great tomatoes. And that's, you know, half of your stuff is done by finding a really great flavor. So, we need 3 medium tomatoes. We need 1 Anaheim chili, actually about 1/3 of one. And that's what this is. You can tell I've been using this. You need 1 large clove of garlic. Of course, you need Mexican chili powder. Lime juice. Wherever would we be without lime juice in our salsa? I don't know. But lime juice, definitely. We need about 1/4 of a large onion. Preferably red. I couldn't get any this week, so I had to go for yellow. So 1/4 of an onion. We're going to be cutting this in half. And cilantro. You don't need much, only about 1.5 teaspoons for this recipe. Or actually, wait a minute, 1.5 teaspoons, sorry. When I made it originally, it was really great to me, but the non-cilantro lovers in my family said, too much, it tastes like soap. And honestly, this is a real thing, honest. So, let me tell you a little bit about the order in which I do things here. When you are doing this recipe, you will also want a colander. Why? You're going to, when you chop up your tomatoes, you're going to put them in here in the sink. And That's going to allow them to drain so that when you have salsa, you don't have a watery mess. So we want to drain our tomatoes before we put them in the bowl. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with our tomatoes. And unfortunately, I need to bring my knife sharpening kit here to the blending kitchen because this thing is horribly dull. So what am I going to do? Home time. So one thing that will test whether or not your knives are sharp are tomatoes and whether or not you can cut the skins. So there we go. Wipe the edge off real quick. And so we are going to start by slicing our tomatoes relatively thin. And as you can see, not terribly thick slices. This is about 1/4 inch at most. Actually, it's closer to 1/8 inch. Okay, cut out that little bit of stem there. Put it off to the side. And by the way, if you have it, for this task, a cutting board with one of those nice little rims around the edge is perfect. That way you don't get tomato juice everywhere. So, what am I doing? Go ahead and continue slicing. Like I said, this knife is not horribly sharp. Now, do be careful if you've got dull knives. A dull knife is only paralleled as dangerous in the kitchen by a knife you think is dull, but isn't. So do be careful with your dull knives. Oftentimes you will have to put a little bit more energy into cutting with them, and if it slips real well because there's more energy behind it. And if you do happen to have a dull knife, there is a trick when cutting tomatoes. And I put these guys off to the side. Now the trick is, pierce the skin with the tip of the knife right where you're going to be making that cut, when it will not go through. Okay, cutting out that bud. There we go. And that allows the knife to go through your tomato skin much nicer. Pierce that skin with the tip. And now we are going to chop them this way. Make nice little fries, if you will, out of your tomatoes. Put that aside. And for the interior pieces, especially when you've got a sharp knife, it's a lot easier because you can go faster and it really kind of juliennes them really nicely. We're going to chop these things pretty fine so that you don't get huge chunks of tomato in your salsa. Sometimes it's not quite nice when you dip your chip into salsa and fish up one big tomato. So some of you guys might like that. Go for it. Me, I prefer slightly smaller pieces. And I'm piercing this tomato before I try to cut it. There we go. And next, there we go. And you're just going to go ahead and slice away. There you go. Now, before I go much further, I've got a lot of tomato on this thing, and so I'd better start chopping and letting it drain. So I'm going to turn this sideways so all the fries are going this way, right? And then do as fine a chop sideways on them as I can get away with. But we're not done from there. Okay. Why? Because we're going to chop these even finer. Even finer. So, let me see. Rata tomato knife. Ooh, Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, don't I? Oop, don't do that, it hurts. I just sliced myself. So, in some ways, I'm thankful this is a dull knife. And it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay. There we go. Watching the fingers a little bit better now. So now you guys know that it happens to the best of us. So now that we've got them roughly chopped, we're going to dice just like this, hand over the tip to keep the tip down, and we're just going to rock with the edge of the knife. You notice that the knife has this curved edge here. We're putting our hand here, not allowing it to slip this way, but we're putting our hand here and then just using that rocking motion. And I'm going back and forth over my tomatoes. I'm going to pull those off to the side, bring these over here. There we go. Pull those up to the side. Is moving a little bit. That tends to happen unless it's well anchored. Okay, now we're going to do that again. That's looking better. We want a pretty good dice on these. That way, when you scoop it up on a chip or put it on a burrito, you don't get just huge pieces. So now what I'm going to do with this bunch is I'm going to put that in the colander real quick and then get back to these tomatoes right here. Alrighty, colander goes into the sink. And the tomatoes go smack into the colander. Woohoo! I love it when I can get something off my plate. Oh. So what do we have? You know, Maureen says, that's what happens when you use a dull knife. Exactly. I've tried sharpening this thing 3 times today. But I didn't have my real kit with me. So, you know, that's what I get, right? I know better for next time. Okay, I've got these French fries starting. There we go. And we're just going to go ahead and slice up the rest of these. And then put them in the colander with the rest of them. Now you'll notice I don't have skin side up on these, if you'll notice what I've been doing. And the reason why is the knife goes through these better from the flesh side than the skin side. So I'm going to turn my little cylinders. And if I get them flat enough and skinny enough, I can actually do that dicing motion all the way up. And that makes a lot shorter work out of it. There we go. Now I'm going to turn them. Aha! And dice forward and back. Bring that bunch over. I've got a bit that did not dice at all. It's still a fry. And so I do that again. Dice forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. And make sure if you do this, you're going to be pivoting the knife like this, but this is your anchor hand. This is going to keep it actually from going really anywhere wild. You don't want to overreach yourself because that's when things slip. So I work in small batches if you're not used to dicing well with a knife. There we go, that's the rest of them. This goes into the colander. Now, when you're looking at your colander, you see all that juice coming out of here? We want that. So we're going to kind of press our tomatoes a little bit, kind of mix them around in there, shake it a little bit, and just put it back in there. Because it is meat. Now I'm not doing this where the water can get into the colander, but I am going to rinse my board. So I've got the board over the colander, shielding it from the water. There we go. And wipe that puppy off. Squeegee the excess water off of there. And what do we got next? We have any one of these guys. So I'm going to start with the onion. And normally, like I said, I'd much rather have a red onion here than a yellow onion because they're so much sweeter. There's a little bit more body to them. But, I can deal with a yellow onion. I really can. So, I'm going to be showing you a little bit of, just some fun stuff. We are going to take our knife, go this way, about halfway through, and then go this way, all the way over this, in really small little dices, so we don't have to spend as much time dicing up this onion. Not quite all the way through. Now you're going to want to be careful with this because things can slip around. Not all the way to the root end, but very close to it. And all of a sudden, it stays together for you. I'm going to be cutting up those little pieces in a little bit. And because this can slip around, you're still going to be careful when you're actually cutting this way. But as you can tell, we already have some relatively fine dices going on here. Look at that. That's not horribly big. And that can cut your onion cutting time in just a minute portion compared to what else you might have been doing. Now that root end is still a wonderful little handle. And there we go. The root end goes away. And the little pieces that got left over also get chopped up. Okay. Woo! Let the eyes quit stinging. Woohoo! We're going to do that rounded chop once more, but not as much as we did with those tomatoes. We still want these in kind of a chunk, but not huge. So, there we go. There you go. That's awesome. Now, I'm going to put these into my bowl. Right on in there. Everything else, while those tomatoes are draining, oh, good onion. Woo-wee! My eyes are tearing up something. Woo! But anyway, while those tomatoes are draining, you're going to put everything else in your bowl. It's really great. That way you don't have to, there's not a lot of mess involved in this unless you count tomato. So the next thing I want to do is my cilantro. And you don't need a ton of this stuff. A little bit goes a long way, and it's very potent. So I'm only using about that much cilantro. That'll dice down to somewhere around a teaspoon and a half to 2 teaspoons. And I think last time I used almost twice as much of this. So that was way too much last time. So I just diced down the length of it, and I'm going to turn my knife and cut the width and dice more both ways so we get a very small particle amount there rather than having a big old piece of cilantro leaf. So tonight is Dice City. And go ahead and put it in your bowl. We are good. Woohoo, woohoo! We are having yummies tonight. Woo! So, next, your Anaheim chili. Now, as you can tell, I've used most of this. This is about 1/3 of a chili. It was about this long. And I've used the rest of it in a couple of different things. So, what we're going to do is if you're using the bottom of your chili, you're going to be going ahead and don't even worry about seeds because it's the bottom of the chili. The seeds don't get that far down. If you're using the top of the chili, you're going to want to cut that top off and slice it open. Open it up. Get those veins and seeds out if you want things really mild. Seeds are not always a happy-making thing when it comes to chilies. We've grown Anaheims before, and some of them come out hot. It's really kind of fun. So then again, I'm not one who dislikes heat. I do like heat. And but anyway, so you're going to dice this pretty fine. And you can use up to a whole chili, but I recommend you start with about 1/3 of a chili for this particular recipe, unless you're scaling it. You can scale it up big time. But if you're just making enough salsa for the week for like a family of 4, around my brother, this isn't enough, but you know, that's plenty for most people. Then again, my brother is a salsa fiend. It's wonderful. Okay. There was a time, oh gosh, where my brother had been complaining about not enough salsa in the house. And we hadn't had salsa in the house for months. But it was just one of those times where, you know, the whole family was really kind of strapped, yada, 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 yada. But Matt and I were helping out my parents. We were both working at the time. And it was really kind of fun because he had been complaining about lack of salsa for at least a few weeks. And just nobody else picked it up because the jars that we'd get would always go moldy after a while. And so come his birthday, I got him a jar of salsa and a card that said, and for dessert, chocolate mouse. And he and I had this running joke for a good couple of years after that. It actually made him laugh really well, and I knew I got him. It was great. He's hard to get too. Anyway, so there's those. We're going to now we're going to go ahead and move our tomatoes around again, shake them up a little bit. They're nice, and there's not a whole lot of liquid in here anymore. Look at this. Not a whole lot of liquid at all. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to put these into the rest of our vegetables, just like that. Yes. Now, check this out. Isn't this gorgeous? Seriously, yum. Check that out. Can I do this? Maybe not. So anyway, go ahead and give that a quick stir. But look at all those colors. Oh, yes. You know, there is definitely something to the fact that you feast with your eyes, right? And I love color. I seriously love color. You know, I don't know if I love color or flavor more. I really don't. So somebody has something to say. I've made salsa 1,000 times. Maybe I'll see you set. Ooh, yes. Maureen, that is cool. You're going to have to taste this stuff. So, what do we do next? We need, whoop, get out of there, large clove garlic. And I'm going to suggest that you use a garlic press for this or mince it very, very small. And why? You're going to do this because the smaller the particle, the more of the surface area of the garlic itself that hits the air, the more garlic flavor you get. And the more garlic flavor you get, the less garlic you have to use. This is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my handy dandy, wonderful garlic press. I've had this thing for years. There we go. Wonderful. Get all that garlic out there. And discard the peel. Yes. That's the one thing about garlic presses. You can oftentimes put the whole clove, peel and all, in your garlic press, and all that's left, if it's a good garlic press, is the peel inside the garlic press. How cool is that? Seriously? I love this thing. So anyway, next, I'm going to make sure that I'm following my recipe tonight. Might help just a little bit. 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Oh, yes. And lime juice is really quite wonderful. You can use lemon juice in a pinch. It's not quite the same. The flavor profile is slightly different. And you can oops it a little bit. But lime juice is one of those flavor enhancers that just adds that citrus punch to it that nothing else in this dish really has. And the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go 2 teaspoons of Mexican chili powder. And if you guys have ever had like the dark salsa at Baja Fresh, I mean, I'm talking years ago. There was one in Simi Valley where I used to live, and they got this salsa bar, and the dark salsa was always the best. This tastes really great, just like that stuff did. And so, what else have I? Yes! Show it the sugar bowl. Why? We are putting a 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon, depending on your tastes, but normally 1/4 teaspoon of sugar in there to counteract some of the acidity and give it less of an acid bite rather than a flavor bite. And so you don't need much. I mean, just show it the sugar bowl, let it scream kind of thing. And that will definitely help with the acid bite of the tomatoes and such like that. And I'm also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt because I like it that way. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This one's for my dad. He doesn't like salt. And so, that's the beauty about this thing. You can do a different sweetener. You can leave the salt out. You can add salt or anything like that. And you've got tons and tons and tons of flavor. Oh, man alive, flavor is my friend. So, now, mix that puppy up. And you notice, friends, look at that. Not a whole lot of juice in there. Not at all. Look at that. You can see the bottom of the bowl. And so that is definitely why we drain the tomatoes before we put the tomatoes in. And just go ahead and mix that up. Turn your bowl while you do this to just get the mixing action all good. And then let it sit for at least 1/2 an hour before serving. That way, all that wonderful lime juice, the tomatoes, the onions, they all kind of start melding together. You don't get the spicy bite of onion as much. Or, you get a lot of the Anaheim chili just lending its flavor everywhere. You don't get a really spicy bit of garlic or stuff like that. All the flavors will do the osmosis thing, and the salt will go where the water is, the water goes where the salt is, and all the flavor just kind of does this. And, you don't have to add salt to have that happen either. That's the beauty about it. So, anyway, there you have it. And you know what? I need to try this stuff over here. Seriously. Okay, here we go. Get me some of this good stuff. I want to try it. Now, there's a big difference between these two. You guys need to come over here and take a look. Come with me, my darlings. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. Now, I cannot tell what you can see. There we are. So, this is the freshly made right here. And you see all those gorgeous, gorgeous colors. The onion is so fresh. All the greens are just bright green. The reds are bright red, the whole 9 yards. Now, this has been sitting for a little while. And this was just made before I popped on. And you see some of the liquid has kind of tinted everything. The Mexican chili powder has definitely tinted everything. All of your chilies have rehydrated. Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering. And your onions have gone a little translucent, which is awesome. That's what you want. And so that tells you that flavor has really transmitted everywhere else. And seriously, my mouth is watering. So, let me see. Let me taste this. I'm so excited. Oh. Oh, yes. Ooh, bit of a kick there. Nice. So, definitely, if you want to tone down the heat a little bit, you're going to add a little less of the Anaheim chili. And maybe taste a bit and make sure that it's not as spicy as, not too spicy for you to handle. And you may want to tone down a little bit of the Mexican chili powder. Mexican chili powder normally has very little bite, but that's normally with meat. So, with vegetables, it's going to be a little different, especially when there's other compounds in there, like the capsicum in Anaheim chilies. They do have capsaicin in them, like the capsaicin in Anaheim chilies. So, there are ways to make this a little bit more tame for the tender tongues of the bunch. But meanwhile, guys, keep things tasty from our kitchen to yours. You are awesome and have a great night.